Artists are often free spirits, and sometimes they apply that freedom to their relationships too, without their significant others being aware. From writers to singers to actors and beyond, there's long been a trope that creatives are so filled with passion and emotion that they just can't help but spread their love around. Sometimes this takes place in acknowledged, consensually open relationship, but often it seems to come through cheating. Cheating that they often find ways to put into their art for all to see. Of course, people of all kinds can and do cheat, but artists have spearheaded this trope to some degree in the popular culture because they keep making art about them doing it. So why do artists seem so obsessed with this rather destructive form of love? And telling us all about it. Creatives are often framed as being driven by a fire burning within, one that often pushes them towards drama or even anguish in an effort to feel more deeply. They want to feel big emotions that they can then translate into their work to create a big impact. Infidelity has long been a theme across literature, music, and film because it pricks those most tender emotions: love, betrayal, secrecy, lust. From Federico Fellini's 8.5 to Fleetwood Mac's entire discography, cheating plucked from real life and amplified for an audience has become the basis for some of our most well-known and beloved media. And you can find it hiding in some pretty surprising places. For example, while Eyes Wide Shut is based on a 1923 novella called Dream Story, director and co-writer Stanley Kubrick was said to have based much of the main couple's strife and dalliances with infidelity on real-life couple Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. While everyone generally agrees that cheating is bad in real life, when it comes to artists, the idea that it's in some way connected to their creative output gives them a big get-out-of-jail-free card, in much the same way that people might be willing to overlook a haughty attitude from a star. And some of the most iconic real-life Hollywood couples, who are often upheld as the pinnacle of perfect relationships, began through infidelity. Humphrey Bogart was married when he began dating 19-year-old Lauren Bacall. Paul Newman was married when he got with Joanne Woodward. Cheating is, in a word, commonplace in Hollywood. But not everyone decides to put their infidelity into their art. Art reflects life, and so it makes sense that it would reflect all aspects of life, not just the good or acceptable ones. Artists sometimes see their life, and everyone else in it, as fair game, all part of a story in which they are the protagonist. And so this can lead to them working out their problems with themselves, with their choices, with the people around them, on our screens and radio waves. Many great songs, love songs even, were actually about cheating, either being the one cheating or being the other person. On screen in particular, cheating has become an easy way to stir up drama in a romance, creating an automatic villain in the other person, or an obstacle to love in the spouse of the one desired. It's become an easy shorthand framing that filmmakers can use to quickly let the audience in on a well-known setup without too much explanation. Though, as we discussed in depth in our video on the other woman trope, this trope can be used as a way to flatten and villainize a female character without ever having to look at her as a full person, or think about her motivations or needs. And since infidelity is such a pervasive trope in general, it can be kind of hard to avoid forever. So it's not like everyone who has ever written or played a cheater necessarily is one in real life, of course.
My marriage has survived several affairs already.
Oh, ready?
I've just never been party to them.
When the person writing the film or show is pulling from their own life and choices, it can sometimes feel like they're working overtime to justify their infidelity. But other times we do get to see a more multifaceted view of the cheater and their choices. Marriage Story, written and directed by Noah Baumbach, is said to be loosely based on his divorce from actress Jennifer Jason Leigh, and the accusations of cheating on the rather questionable timeline of the beginning of his relationship with Greta Gerwig.
Life with you was joyless!
What, so then you had to go and someone else?
You shouldn't be upset that I f***ed her. You should be upset that I had a laugh with her.
The story frames his cheating within the larger context of the unhappy marriage. Neither of them are happy, and it's led to them both making the other miserable through their choices. Not necessarily working to justify the wrongdoing, but rather instead to unpack the not-so-happy truths that can lie at the heart of a relationship that's been stretched past its limit, where cheating is just one of a multitude of ways you can hurt a partner. Carrie Bradshaw was loosely based on writer Candace Bunchell, who started using the name as a pseudonym in her real real-life New York Observer column where she wrote about her own adventures. She said she began using the name as a cover so that her parents hopefully wouldn't realize that they were reading about her sexual pursuits in the paper. Big is also allegedly based on a real person, former Vogue publisher Ron Galati. While he and Candace did date for a time, there's no indication that their relationship was as fraught or toxic as the one that ended up becoming the centerpiece of Sex and the City. But in Carrie, we can see how the idea of being a free spirit and a writer allows Carrie to justify a lot of her own less than savory behavior. While she would judge others for doing the same things, when she does it, it's justified because it's different, it's just her nature, and she's the main character.
You're the other woman. I am not the other woman. I'm not. I mean, I know I am, but I am not that woman.
Musicians often have a more direct connection to the art they share in terms of how it's consumed by the public. They aren't writing for or directing a character, these words are coming through the musician themselves. Like with every other topic under the sun, infidelity often makes an appearance somewhere in a musician's discography, whether they're the perpetrator, victim, or third party waiting in the wings. And because, like writers and filmmakers, musicians aren't afraid of confronting the more unsavory sides of their own relationships and choices, a surprising amount of the time in their songs, they're not the scorned party, but in fact the one doing the cheating.
I know that he knows I'm unfaithful and it kills him inside.
Ariana Grande, for example, has a long history of entering into relationships with people who have not yet left their previous ones, and hasn't been afraid to put that directly into her songs.
Wake up with your girlfriend. Yeah, 'cause I'm bored.
Waves were made when it was revealed that she had begun a relationship with her Wicked co-star Ethan Slater. Both were married at the time, and Ethan and his wife had just welcomed a new baby. Though there have been attempts to amend the timeline on when they actually got together, they didn't open up about the relationship publicly, but Ariana did include a song on her recent album essentially hand-waving away any issues anyone might have with the whole relationship.
The business is yours, the mine is mine. Why do you care so much? Who's that right?
Ethan himself has been a smaller part of the conversation, which is certainly in part due to the other woman problem, but it's also just because he's less famous and hasn't really made any of his own art that he could put his side of the story into. But it's in his ex-wife's story that we see the important other part of the equation that can so often get left out of the cheating artist trope. Sometimes both people in the relationship, the cheater and the person being cheated on, are artists. And so we actually do end up getting to hear both sides of the story in a major way. But often it's a rather uneven relationship, where only the cheater themselves has this platform. And so that can end up being the only side of the story we get, the side attempting to justify or dismiss the pain caused by the cheating.
Ever think about how she'd feel if she found out? Yes, I think about it all the time. No, you don't. You think about what would happen to you if she found out. You don't think about her.
Ethan Slater's ex-wife, Dr. Lily J., for example, had no real platform, and so has spent the time since the dissolution of their relationship not only having to hear one of the biggest pop stars in the world release a song about getting her husband, but then also having to see them go on a promo tour together for one of the biggest films of the year. But she recently was able to share her side of the story with an article in The Cut, where she was given the space to unpack how terrible it felt to uproot her life for her childhood sweetheart, only to have him ditch her and their newborn baby. She wrote, "Days with my son are sunny. Days when I can't escape the promotion of a movie associated with the saddest days of my life are darker." He also opened up about how, while the artists may get to just float on, using scandals as a part of their art, it can have real negative consequences for everyone else left picking up the pieces. She wrote, "It's hard to measure an absence, and I can't say for sure how much my career has been impacted by what's out there online, but there have been hints along the way, like the job offer that dissolved without explanation after yet another tabloid news cycle, or the patient who's scheduled for a first appointment but seemingly vanishes." But she also noted how, even with all of the pain she had to endure in the public eye, she is finding ways to move forward. "Slowly but surely, I have come to believe that in the absence of the life I planned with my high school sweetheart, a lifetime of sweetness is waiting for me and my child." We can't and shouldn't try to police human emotions, or what people are or are not allowed to include in their art. Infidelity is a very real part of the human experience, so it has its place in art just like every other point of conflict. Also, so much of art is about drama and passion, so it might feel a little empty if no one ever opened up about doing anything bad. Really, the point when looking at this trope is to make sure we're not forgetting the framing in which we're experiencing these stories, whose side gets told and whose gets left out. The recent viral moment of a couple having their affair outed on the big screen at a Coldplay concert has everyone talking not only about cheating, But why some people seem to feel compelled to do it so publicly? Stepping out on one's partner certainly isn't a new phenomenon by any stretch of the imagination. But the degree that we're all connected now means that it's easier than ever to get caught. But it seems like, for some people, that might be the goal. Or at least they certainly don't seem to be attempting to hide. So why do some people want to have their affairs out in the open? And how is our modern digital landscape changing not only our ideas of what the public is, but even our ideas around cheating itself? Let's take a closer look. When we think of infidelity, we most often associate it with sneaking around. The fact that it's something hidden and taboo is framed as being a major part of what makes it exciting and fun.
You know the rules. I don't make plans, and I don't make breakfast.
There's a thrill of getting to experience something new and fresh outside of your actual relationship without having to give that relationship up.
You don't have to know everything to love someone. A mystery. It's kind of sexy.
But no matter how fun it may be, it's still generally something people try to keep a secret. Whether cheating is seen as bad or defensible usually depends on which side we're hearing the story from.
I can't believe I'm losing him to Penny Pan. Do you know I've seen her twice with her shirt on inside out? Once, fine, you were rushed in the morning. Twice, you can only be trusted to butter people's corn at the county fair.
If the story is told through the eyes of the person being cheated on, then it's tragic and painful. And the cheater is in the wrong. And the person they cheated with is often framed as even worse. Particularly if she's a woman, due to the long-standing trope of blaming women for men making the choice to step outside of their relationships. If the person we're experiencing the story through is the cheater, however, then things can get a little more hazy.
You're the other woman. I am not the other woman. I'm not. I mean, I know I am, but I am not that woman.
Because we're with them, we get to see their side of things and how they justify their choices to themselves and others.
It was a force bigger than me, like Niagara Falls or something, you know?
This is especially true in rom-coms, where the desired love interest is often already with someone. But then, that person is framed as the real problem, so it's okay, or good even, that the love interest cheats on them. As ending long-term relationships and getting divorced have become more commonplace, and even open relationships are on their way to becoming normalized in their own right, you'd think we'd be encountering less cheating. But in many ways, it's starting to feel just the opposite. At their core, affairs aren't just about wanting something new, but also about the thrill that comes from doing bad things behind someone's back and not getting caught.
I like being bad and then going home and being good.
In earlier eras, it was easier to keep a lid on cheating, even if you weren't particularly quiet about it. Take Mad Men's Don Draper's revolving door of girlfriends, who his wife never has any idea about because he met them all in the city, while she was out in the suburbs being miserable. Our modern world, however, is much more connected and surveilled, which has had far-reaching consequences when it comes to everything, including affairs.
So obviously it's not your husband's in the photos. Your highlight's in the shot of gold, not blonde, so that's only from about 3 months ago.
As we've moved further into this always connected digital age, the idea of what even constitutes in public has expanded. Now, we can each individually reach a wider circulation than even newspapers of previous eras could have dreamed of. This gives us a platform to share our happiest and proudest moments, but also can mean that there are a lot of eyes on us during our worst as well.
And I open up social media and I'm getting tagged back and forth over like something he captioned or wrote on a photo.
The broad and constantly available connection to people around the world can make infidelity even easier, as now you don't even have to get up off the couch to step out of your relationship. It also means that it's easier to become aware that your partner is having an affair.
My marriage has survived several affairs already.
Oh, ready?
I've just never been party to them.
The internet went wild when a video of a couple freaking out upon realizing that they were on the kiss cam at a Coldplay concert went viral. The fact that they were clearly up to something was pretty immediately apparent, as even singer Chris Martin made a joke about it in the moment. It spread like wildfire, with people finding not only the LinkedIn pages for both the man and woman, but also his wife. While it might have been funny for randoms online to watch this guy's life go up in flames, it likely wasn't a great feeling for his wife to get flooded with hundreds of messages with images of him holding someone else. When one or both parties in the relationship is famous, this can be exacerbated even further. After her husband left her and her newborn baby to be with Ariana Grande, Ethan Slater's ex-wife, Dr. Lily J, wrote in a piece for The Cut, "Days with my son are sunny. Days when I can't escape the promotion of a movie associated with the saddest days of my life are darker." But why do some people seem so determined to take this act that's generally thought of as hidden out into the public realm? For some people, it seems that just cheating isn't enough of a thrill. They want to push the envelope when it comes to the possibility of getting caught, and so they take their affairs out into the world.
I love you.
Your wife is 10 feet away.
I love you.
The reasons behind this can vary widely. Some research has suggested that people who choose to cheat because they feel a lack in their relationship, or because they feel they need a boost to their own self-esteem, are more likely to engage in their affairs more publicly. Some people just genuinely think they won't get caught, either because they think they are being sneaky, or they just think no one will notice, or sometimes they just don't really seem to care one way or the other as long as they get to do what they want. As we talked about in our video on the connection between art and infidelity, Ariana Grande has a bit of a pattern of getting into relationships with people that are already in them, being rather public about it and even talking about it in her songs, and then acting like everyone else is weird for talking about it at all. But in the end, she does always get to just do what, and who, she wants and keep living her life, seemingly unmoved by the scrutiny. So many of these couples aren't necessarily trying to be noticed, but come to find that to keep up the thrill of the danger of getting caught, they need to keep ramping up how out there they are with the affair.
So you're like playing games with him.
We both do it. It's like hide and seek. Keeps things interesting.
The Coldplay couple seem to fall into this category, for example. While it's clear that they didn't want to get caught, they weren't really hiding. They were happy to be out and about, in a box at a concert for one of the biggest bands currently touring, out in the open in front of everyone. But then when they actually got caught in 4K, the fun of being naughty immediately dissipated. Finally, there are those who do actually actively want to be seen in the midst of their affair. This could stem from thinking that being seen out and about with someone new will make them feel cooler or more desirable. Or it could come from a desire to replicate a version of love they've seen in others, and through displaying it publicly prove to others that they are worthy of that love. We see this in Euphoria with Cassie, for example.
Aren't you afraid people are gonna look down on you?
At least I'm loved.
After hooking up with Nate, she becomes obsessed with creating the perfect relationship with him, one that overshadows the one he had with Maddie and will make her dreams come true. The reality is very different. Not only does she not end up with a fairy tale romance, she also loses her best friend.
This isn't about Nate. This is about you and me and our friendship. And if you want to throw it away, then fine. Because I don't want to be friends with you.
In the real world, these kinds of public affairs can even be used by celebrities for their own gain. All press is good press, or at least that's what they hope. Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell leaned way into speculation around them having an affair during the filming of and press tour for their rom-com Anyone But You.
Check out the new trailer for my new movie.
My movie.
It's actually my movie.
Oh, we'll see whose movie it is when it comes out.
Okay.
It did grab them headlines, but it also made both of them look pretty bad. When it came out that while Sydney's fiancé was in on it, Glenn's girlfriend was not. And that brings us to the final part of the public cheating equation. While the cheaters might pull in the most attention, especially in the case of celebrity relationships, it's the person who was cheated on publicly who is left to suffer, often without the same avenues to discuss their side of the story. Gigi Paris, who was dating Glenn Powell during the Annie Wimpa U controversy, opened up about how difficult it was to watch her boyfriend play into these rumors and tell her it was all just a part of his job.
I had two options. I could either pretend like I was going along with everything and have everyone wonder, like, are they hooking up? Or stand up for myself and say, no, I'm actually not okay with this, and I'm walking away.
Whether the cheating happens on the world stage or just the local one, having everyone immediately aware of it and in your business, sometimes before you even find out, can add extra insult to injury.
You have made a fool of me for years with these. Now it's come into our home?
Having to deal with the pain of betrayal while under the microscope of public scrutiny can make everything more difficult.
Maddie wasn't just angry about Nate and Cassie. She was also depressed and heartbroken.
And while on screen the ones hurt might get the opportunity to stand up for themselves face to face,
I am deeply sorry for what I did to you.
Are you through? Now not only have you ruined my marriage, you've ruined my lunch.
in real life, that can be a lot more difficult. How cheating works in public and private, and what even constitutes cheating continues to evolve with society. A new wrench in the mix is the emergence of AI companions. While the concept of chatbots that respond to you isn't new by a long shot, these modern versions are really drawing people in with their constantly affirming, never questioning attitudes, and totally customizable avatars. They allow people to just create the exact partner they think they want, instead of actually having to go out and find a real person who might have all of those icky human problems, like opinions and independent thoughts.
Real relationships have a give and a take. This is all take all the time. I don't think it's really going to meet the deep down psychological need that people who are lonely have.
And this has already led to people cheating on their real flesh and blood spouses with their AI companions. And because these bots aren't real, it seems that many feel it's okay to do this right out in the open in front of those spouses.
Are you okay with it? I mean, it's weird, but it is what it is.
This has led to some spouses choosing to leave because they can't stand watching their partner cheat on them with these digital bots, and to the cheaters themselves opting to leave their human relationships to focus on the ones they have with their AI spouse. Infidelity is a complex topic, and it's only becoming more so with time. And as it becomes more public, people will continue to talk about it because it's a taboo that everyone can connect to on some level. Either out of fear of it happening to them, commiserating because it has happened to them, or even wanting to do it themselves. Instead of just blowing up these viral moments, however, we should also try to dig into the more important conversations about how we treat each other, in private, in public, and in the digital sphere.
Infidelity is one of the most traumatic, heartbreaking experiences someone in a romantic partnership can go through, so why does it often get glamorized on screen?
You don't have to know everything to love someone. A mystery. It's kind of sexy.
Our culture seems obsessed with cheating as a concept, with entire shows based around it. Film scholar Janine Basinger says of its prevalence in film that it's interesting, it's common, and it's juicy. It's possible that, given nearly 50% of people in monogamous relationships say they've had affairs, watching these real-life scenarios play out on screen can be cathartic. And in real-life cheating scandals, we live for the drama. Adam Levine, The Try Guys, Good Morning America hosts Amy Robach and TJ Holmes, these stories compel us because we see the mask of celebrity slip, and we're able to view these people through a different lens. The real-life consequences may be devastating, but we become invested because we too feel like we've been misdirected.
We found that Ned had engaged in conduct unbecoming of our team, and we knew that we could not move forward with him.
Here's our take on the popularity of infidelity stories, why they're so entertaining, and how more nuanced portrayals of cheating show us that it's not always so black and white. The uncomfortable truth is, no matter how taboo it is, infidelity often feels exciting. In fact, it's because it's taboo that it's so exciting.
I don't kiss strange men.
Neither do I.
What helps create this spark is also the fact that the stakes are high. Getting caught could irrevocably change lives, and we don't know whether it would be for better or for worse. In Scandal, Fitz and Olivia Pope's affair has the potential to ruin their careers. Alicia and Will's affair on The Good Wife has the added complication of a workplace power dynamic. Connie's affair with Paul in Unfaithful feels actively dangerous because of what we anticipate Connie's husband may do if he finds out.
I can't do this. Forgot my coat.
In The White Lotus, we see how the spark that infidelity creates gets harnessed by Ethan and Harper to almost rekindle something dormant in them. When we first meet them, there is a flatness and a boredom to their relationship. Harper's infidelity doesn't feel like a complete surprise. In fact, given how loveless their relationship seems, we almost will her to do it because we want someone to see her in the same way that we, the audience, see her.
We're not attracted to each other anymore. Or at least you're not attracted to me.
But once they've both cheated, or at least we believe they did, the couple reunites and they're able to find each other attractive again. The takeaway is that they must effectively become like their friends Daphne and Cameron, who openly enjoy the sting of infidelity in order to keep their sex lives and marriage alive.
So you're like playing games with them.
Keeps things interesting.
There's a brief flash of contentment, but there's still something that feels unresolved in their final moments, which maybe speaks to how messy and complicated infidelity actually is. Sometimes, the spark of infidelity is preferable to the dullness of married life, and so we see cheating as the more exciting, even the more romantic option. In Wong Kar-wai's In the Mood for Love, the relationship that Chow and Sue develop over the course of the film is achingly romantic, and in watching it, we can't help but be sucked in by the excitement of new love blooming. Similarly, in Brief Encounter, Laura and Alec's secret relationship never crosses the line to become physical, but that doesn't detract from how emotionally heart-wrenching it is. In these cases, we are invited to examine the so-called immorality of infidelity. If someone is stuck in a relationship that doesn't make them happy and then meets someone who does, we seem to immediately want them to do the rash, reckless thing of following their heart, regardless of the consequences.
Shall I see you again?
It's the other platform, isn't it? You have to run. Don't bother about me. Mine's not due for a few minutes.
Ultimately, the spark of infidelity is about desire, whether that be the desire for another person or the desire for another life entirely. But what's interesting is when we as the viewer understand and even encourage that desire versus when we judge or shame it. And often, there's a gender divide in where we draw that line. Our image of the male cheater is very different from our image of the female cheater. With male cheaters, we are often invited to side with the scorned woman and see the man as immature, stupid, or even cruel for compromising his relationship. When it was revealed that Jay-Z cheated on Beyoncé or that Adam Levine cheated on his Victoria's Secret model wife Bahati Prinsloo, the responses weren't so much criticism as much as they were disbelief. Implicit in this is the fact that when men cheat, there's very little understanding. In Friends, Ross's repeated cry of "we were on a break" is more of a running gag. And even though we know the situation is blurry and the morality of what he did was not completely black and white, he still has to do a lot of atonement in order to win Rachel back.
I mean, my mom never thought this would work out. She was all, once a cheater, always a cheater.
Men cheating often feel selfish or driven by ego. In Marriage Story, Charlie admits that his notoriety and his fame encouraged him to have affairs because of the newfound attention he was getting, and almost blames Nicole for not allowing him to take advantage of that.
Life with you was joyless!
What, so then you had to go and someone else?
When Owen Hunt cheats on Christina in Grey's Anatomy, it feels like it's an act of spite to get back at her for not wanting kids. The multiple affairs had by nearly all the men in Mad Men all feel evidence of their lack of care for the women they're supposed to love. Similarly, in Revolutionary Road, Frank Wheeler's affair feels like it's born out of a need to feel young and exciting again. As a result, these male affairs often feel empty and pointless, and it becomes hard to sympathize with them. As Jeremy Hellegar writes, in Fatal Attraction, Glenn Close had to go homicidal for Michael Douglas to get an ounce of sympathy.
I'm scared, Jimmy. I don't want to lose my family.
On the contrary, when women cheat, they often get a pass. Arizona cheating on Callie in Grey's Anatomy is arguably just as ego-driven as Owen's, but her explanation rings truer.
How could you do this? You weren't there, and you keep acting like you were, but you weren't.
In Desperate Housewives, we don't mind so much that Gabrielle is having a steamy affair with the young gardener because it feels like her husband Carlos sees her more as a trophy wife. Even Carrie cheating on Aiden with Big in Sex and the City, while heartbreaking for anyone who's Team Aiden, is somewhat justified by the fact that her and Big are the central romantic story of the season, that they're meant to be in the end, and the fact that her contrition over the affair feels genuine.
And he was married and it was a mess. And I don't know what I was thinking. I wasn't thinking.
Other times, it's more than a pass. Women who are unfaithful are often seen as having to cheat out of necessity to escape an unfit partnership with a villainous man, like Rose in Titanic or Pam from The Office. In real life, we often think of infidelity as a male problem, but in fact, instances of women cheating have increased by as much as 40% over the past few decades.
And my wife was cheating on me with David Lindhagen.
So, by challenging our assumptions on who can cheat, we're faced with the reality that infidelity isn't always so easy to pass judgment on. Often, infidelity itself isn't what's complicated. It's what happens after the infidelity is exposed. How a couple has to navigate the road ahead knowing that this betrayal has taken place and that the perceived solidity of their relationship has crumbled beneath them.
We shouldn't put the kids in the middle of this, Larry.
Kids aren't.
I'm saying we.
An interesting example comes in Worth, where it's revealed that one of the 9/11 victims whose wife, Karen, is entitled to compensation had a secret other family who would also be entitled to compensation. So not only does Karen have to grieve her husband, she has to grieve him doubly, knowing that this betrayal was going on under her nose and she was never able to confront him about it. At the same time, neither she nor his brother are willing to throw him completely under the bus, giving the heroic nature of how he died and how good a father he was. When given all these competing emotions and facets of the man's character, it's much harder to make firm judgments.
What are their names?
Karen, go back in the house.
No. I want to know.
In The Crown, we also get a more complex, nuanced take on one of the most notorious cheating scandals of recent times, Prince Charles's affair with Camilla Parker Bowles. For a long while, this did feel like a simple case of a bad man, a mistress, and a scorned woman. Diana's famous "there were 3 people in this relationship" line was a shot that rang out through the ages. But the show complicates this by showing how Charles always wanted to marry Camilla, but wasn't allowed.
I don't want to lose her ever. She's the one.
And how badly Camilla was treated by the public. So the piecing back together of Diana's life is less about seeing Charles as the man who scorned her, but rather about what her life is now that she's in the aftermath of this event. A similar dynamic exists with Alicia on The Good Wife. We regularly see flashbacks of her life then, before her husband's infidelity was the talk of the town, and her life now that she's back at work, still discovering more information about the truth of her husband's affairs. She has to move forward, but the grief over her lost relationship is a constant weight on her life.
Does it ever get easier?
No. But you do get better at it.
Bobby Goldstein, executive producer on the hit reality show Cheaters, calls infidelity the drama of life, but maybe the falsehood in representations of infidelity is that it's always seen as dramatic. In conversations with friends, all that drama is removed from the situation, and we see infidelity as something that emerges in a more organic, almost prosaic way.
I don't want to hurt your marriage.
My marriage has survived several affairs already.
Oh.
I've just never been party to them.
And perhaps this ordinariness is truer to the reality of infidelity, that it isn't always couples being thrown off course by a third party thrown into their midst, or lives blowing up after shocking revelations. That sometimes it's the culmination of a lot of different things, and something that takes time to wrestle with and make sense of. Infidelity is common. Despite this, it can still be traumatic and feel like something that's impossible to come back from, both as a couple and as an individual, either someone who's been wronged or someone who's done the wrong thing.
I'd do anything I could to undo what happened.
What happened?
I was not respectful to you.
We're drawn to these stories because they allow us to imagine the worst and maybe reframe it as something that is manageable, navigable, even understandable. And as much as it seems we've invested in the spectacle of a dramatic, gut-wrenching cheating story, hopefully shows like Conversations with Friends that offer us a more realistic portrayal of infidelity become more of the norm. That's The Take. Click here to watch a video we think you'll love, or here to check out a whole playlist of awesome content. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications.